Hi, I'm DJ Ware. On this episode of the CyberGizmo, I'm going to be looking at a solution that allows me to stream applications and complete Linux desktops, all using Docker, right after this. So one of the things that, we always talk about is using containers in order to be able to provide an additional layer of security, as well as being able to provide additional capabilities in order to host additional things that you normally wouldn't be able to do. But one of the solutions that allows you to stream containers and to stream the applications and the desktops to end users is Kasm Workspaces. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Kasm Workspaces is a free and open source platform. However, I always have a trouble saying free and open source when it is a commercial application. It is licensed, and there's different ways you can do this. So you can either self-host, or you can go to a software as a service, which, of course, that's a cloud environment. Or you can go per user or concurrent session. So however you want to license it. They do offer this community version, which is free. It has all of these features, except it doesn't provide custom branding. It doesn't do web categorization, and it doesn't do dynamic scaling. Now, dynamic scaling means that, in this case, that I have multiple servers that are running the Kasm Workspaces, and I'm distributing my load equally across those. The remote workspaces allows me to provide desktop as a service to employees and vendors. So this would mean that these would be remotely hosted onto the cloud, and then you have app streaming as well. So browser isolation to protect what sites you're going to, and also whenever you're running applications or your desktops, that you are actually running those inside the browser. So you can't obviously save documents to your local machine, so that gives an additional layer of protection because you're not able to transmit malware in that way. So the documentation will take you over here. I'm going to go to this version of the architecture. So your end users are accessing by a browser, and there's a number of browsers that they support, including mobile. There's the Kasm server, which provides the API, the managerial service, the proxy, the database, and also the agent. This also manages your persistence layer if you turn it on. So by default, though, any of these sessions are non-persistent, meaning that I cannot save data inside that session. You can use 443. You can change that if you have a server that you're using that already has 443 and used for something else. As far as system requirements are concerned for the server, you need to have an operating system installed that is either Ubuntu 18.04, 20.04, and it has to be AMD or ARM 64. Debian 9, 10, or 11, same thing. CentOS 7 or 8, so Red Hat will work. Rocky should work. And Oracle Linux 7 and 8. I just think they don't have those listed simply because they haven't tested them. Resource requirements, it takes 2 cores at least. Now remember, this is minimum. Memory 4 gig, storage 50 gig. And it does have to be SSD because you're obviously wanting this to be as fast as possible when you're using this. So as far as the Docker images, 1806 and Docker Compose greater than 2, you don't have to worry about installing those. The install script will take care of that for you. As far as end user requirements, you do have this would be for desktop, Chrome 49 plus, Edge 14 plus, Firefox 48 plus, so on. So that gives you a pretty good range there. As far as mobile is concerned, it says that audio is not supported on mobile browsers. So I will be installing this on Proxmox. As far as what do I need, let's go ahead and get started with the documentation here. I'm going to need to download, and I'm just gonna save I'm just gonna copy the link address, and then I'm gonna go. That's my local host. This is the Kasm server. So what do we need to do here? So first thing I'll need to do is a wget on this that address, and it's coming off of an Amazon server. So I can go ahead, download that. That's not really too big, but I don't really need that. I already have it right here. So that's just a tar file, so ZXB, and then we'll do a Kasm. Now they recommend that you do this in temp. Yeah, you could do that, I guess. I'm just going to do it in my home folder, and then I'll get rid of this when I'm done. So, like I said, though, they do updates on this particular software every day, and then it'll create a directory called Kasm release in here. So I can do, at this point, I'm going to do in a sudo install that shell. Now, if I want to move this port to something else, like 8443, I can do that right here by doing the -L. Now, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let it default. All right, so it's going to ask me to look at the license agreement. This is not installed on the machine, so we'll go ahead and get the packages down that we need first. It goes through everything. You don't have to do anything at this point. It will completely set up, populate the databases, load the images, the Docker images, get them started, start up all of the services that it needs, set up Nginx, which is the web server that it is using to be the GUI, the user interface that you would be talking with in order to administer Kasm Workspaces. We're done, and you'll notice that the last thing it did was it told me the swap file exists. It would have tried to create that for me, but it only creates a 1 gig of one if you don't have one. So this part right here you'll want to keep and put in this password that I just copied. And I'm under the administrative user, so the first thing I see as an administrative user is the dashboard. The dashboard gives you some information about, how many failed logins, created sessions, successful logins, yada, yada, yada. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is, let's see. First thing I'm going to want to do is go to my users folder here. I'll go back to the dashboard in a second. I want to reset my password for admin. And as soon as I submit this, it's going to kick me out of the system. So now I can put in my new password and log back in. So now as far as the user is concerned, I'm going to destroy that one. And then I will add my user back. If I had a realm, I could enter that. Any notes, if I want to reset my two-factor authentication secret, I can do that. So we'll go ahead and submit that. And these two users are now created. I can go to groups, and there's an administrative group, and then there's this everybody else is in here. So I can add a group, and the groups are used to manage permissions. You can set up different views into the system. So I could create a custom set of images or applications that I want these particular users to be able to access to. For example, maybe if it's a developer group, I create editors and test systems access and all that. I might, for accounting, I might give them access to the financial information and to whatever systems I'm using for accounting or payroll or whatever that might be. But I would not allow anyone else access to that group. So I can protect not only the images that the particular group, or you can also assign it to specific users as well. So you can manage all of that. Agents, I don't think there's really a whole lot going on here. as to what the agents are doing. This is your communication mechanism between your images and the front end, which is this Kasm workspace you're looking at here. So the managers that you have, currently I only have one host that's up and running. If I had multiple hosts, they would show up here, and I could then manage them as one. This is my deployment zone. Now on my version of this, I can't really use that. Staging allows me to stage images to so that users or groups will have faster access to them. So it's kind of a quick load, if you will. I don't have to wait for it to spin up the container. Casting allows me to use a URL. You can see it right here, #cast. I can define a cast, and then if I go to that URL, it will automatically start an image, a specific image. And there's also there's a cast, and then there's another one that's just go. It's /go, and that's the default. So you can also have it. If I put in the URL /go, it'll just start up whatever session I have that's defined for me. Sessions that are currently running, these are all the images that are currently deployable. Won't say they're deployed because you can see that some of these are not enabled. So let's just go to another page here. Get Kali Linux. You'll notice that it's not enabled. And this is kind of weird that I can't click enabled here to turn it on. Instead, I have to actually go edit this one. You can also clone these two if you want to start with one and then configure it differently. So in order to enable this, I actually have to do this. Now, if I want to pass my GPU to this, I can. So I'm going to start that up. Now, if I go back to my dashboard and go to Workspaces here, you'll see Kali Linux is now here. However, you'll notice this triangle. It says that it has not been detected on an agent. So in other words, it's not loaded up yet. It's not downloaded. So it says come back again in a little while and check this again, or go check here with your administrator. This just means that Kasm is in the background is working to download the Docker image, install it, and configure it, and get it ready to start up. So yeah, that's all that means. Now, as far as developers, these allow me to create API keys so that I can leverage the Kasm Workspaces API. There's filters that you can create. There's branding, which of course doesn't work on my version of this because it's not enabled. You do have authorizations that you can perform. Now here's your cast setup and all of that. This can communicate with backend servers such as, I can authenticate to LDAP. I have SAML. So the system information about what it's running on and so forth, what kind of license I have, and what my limits are. And then, of course, there's logging as well. So let me log out as a administrator, and we'll log in as a user so you can see the view that you would have of this. So this would be how it would be presented to your users. And this is the default because remember, everybody is in the default group. So I can pare this down if I don't want to grant blanket access to everybody. I can pare this down a bit. So let's take a look at Brave here. Let's go ahead and bring up Brave. And I could get rid of some of the display stuff that's happening here. So this is the initial launch of Brave, and it's saying, okay, it runs completely private, blah, 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 got it. I can do that. So we can then use so if you want to use Brave search engine, you can replace it. But remember, you'll have to do that every time. So also, if I bookmark this page, let's say that I'm going to add a bookmark to this. We'll bookmark this tab. Should be showing up right here. So it's bookmarked now. However, the next time I come back in here, it will be gone. This right here, you'll notice this little pull out. This allows me to set certain options that I'm allowed to set here. Now I can set my streaming quality. I can turn off and on these things, but I don't really have a lot of things I can do here. I can't, for example, control audio. You have to be an administrator for that. But I don't know. Yeah, local cursor, show keyboard console, auto. So if you're on a tablet device, you might need the keyboard to come up and whatnot. Streaming quality, I can set. It defaults to medium. If I'm working on a graphics application and I need additional clarity to the images, I can always go to high or extreme for that. If I'm working on text, if I'm just in a terminal window, I might turn it down to do that. So I have two things I can do here. I can return, and you'll notice that when I return, I have an active session here, and you'll notice it's been up for 2 minutes, and it is also going to expire in 57 minutes. So the Kasm Workspaces will automatically destroy this. So let's go ahead and delete it. We'll go ahead, and that just means shut it down and burn all the stuff I just did. So now if I come back into Brave, it's probably going to give me the default message over again. Yep, I got to go set everything up again. And you'll notice that my bookmark is now gone. So there's no persistence is basically the thing that you need to take away from that. So we'll go ahead and delete the session, and that'll automatically return me, and there won't be anything here. Now, Kali, I just brought down, and it's ready now because the little triangle with the exclamation point is gone. So as you can see, there's also full desktops for CentOS, and there's also one for Ubuntu as well. I mean, I have access to all of my tools for Kali here and so forth. Now, one thing, don't do that, because the last time I did that on Kali, it just went to a black screen and never came back again. So I would recommend just go here. And then if you want to resume it, you can. And if you don't want to resume it, you can just trash it, delete it, and it's gone. So you'll see that there's quite a few here. I mean, there's only Office, there's Romina, Signal, Slack, Sublime. Terminal, if you had people that were just doing, access to servers or server admins, then maybe that's all they need. However, you'll probably want to turn on persistence there, since you'll probably have keys that you want to save and all that stuff. There is a Tor connection, and let's take a look at Ubuntu, and try that. And you'll notice that you can configure your desktops ahead of time. So this is taking what they've done here. There are core releases. I guess probably the thing to do is to go out. That's not really what I'm looking for. There we go. So what they've done here is this is a basic install of Ubuntu Bionic. So this doesn't have any additional applications beyond the default that Ubuntu installs. So if you want additional ones, what they have done over here is they've gone ahead and set up and installed all of these applications and then created a new image from this core that has everything in it. So that's the way they recommend that you build up your own versions of the system, is that you start with a core and then you build it up the way you want it. And how about we go to Brave. If you want to set up persistence, you'll need a profile path to do that. So you'll need to have some directory on the host system or on the network that you are using to preserve the persistent information. Here's how to set up your persistent profiles. And you can have them specific to the user. So if I am creating a persistent profile for me and I want it to work for you, I can insert a username variable which would get replaced by my user ID or your user ID, so that each of us have our own. Yeah, and then we would allow the setting, allow persistent profile. That's pretty much all I had for today. I mean, Kasm offers kind of a virtual desktop interface, or yeah, and it gives you the ability to, you can use your browser on your local machine, and you can isolate where it goes based on the, like if I was connecting to another browser, then I would be isolating the browser on my workstation from the internet. So yeah, and then anything that was maliciously copied down to the browser would be on Kasm, and that would be destroyed the minute I left and deleted the session. So yeah, but you know, you do have to be aware that if you do have persistent data, then you have to be careful that that doesn't happen. And also I can expose desktops so that I can have a virtual desktop interface. I have different levels of that, so if I need graphics engine support, I can add that to the image and allow that to happen. So it's an interesting piece of software. I think I know I'm gonna be using this, and I know I'm gonna put it into my workflow. I've been looking for something like this for quite some time, and yeah, it's been sitting there for a couple of years now and just haven't discovered it. So hope you enjoyed this video today on Kasm Workspaces. If you did, please like and subscribe. Hope to see you all again real soon. And as always, bye for now.